When Speed and Love first appeared on streaming platforms, it didn't feel like an event. There was no overwhelming hype, no sense that this drama was about to take over timelines overnight. For many viewers, it was just another modern romance quietly added to an already crowded year. But something unexpected happened. People didn't start talking about the plot first. They started asking about one person, almost casually. Who is the actor playing Jin Chao? At first, it wasn't obvious why that question kept coming up. Jin Chao doesn't enter scenes trying to impress anyone. He doesn't rely on dramatic speeches or exaggerated emotions. Sometimes he barely speaks at all. And yet, once he's on screen, the atmosphere shifts. Scenes slow down. Attention narrows. It's the kind of presence that doesn't ask to be noticed, but somehow keeps you watching. That's when many viewers realize they weren't just reacting to a character, they were responding to the actor behind him. What makes Hiyu interesting is that this moment wasn't something he was chasing from the beginning. He didn't grow up training for the spotlight. He wasn't shaped by early fame or instant recognition. In fact, his original path had nothing to do with acting at all. He studied architecture in college, a discipline built on patience, structure, and precision. Looking back, it's hard not to see how that background shows up in his performances. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels wasted. Eventually, he found his way into Liu Tianqi's acting workshop. There was no dramatic turning point, no sudden leap into stardom, just steady learning, one role at a time, quiet progress. Before Speed and Love, Hiyu had already been working consistently. He appeared in multiple dramas, often in supporting roles. If you've watched enough Chinese dramas over the past few years, you may have seen him without really registering his name. In The Blood of Youth, he left a subtle impression. In The Legend of Shen Li, his performance felt controlled and grounded. Later, in Be Passionately in Love, he revealed a softer emotional range. None of these roles made him famous, but together, they built something more important: trust. What most people don't realize is how long this moment took to arrive. Because for fans who noticed him early, this didn't feel like a sudden rise. It felt overdue. For years, Hiyu was the kind of actor audiences recognized without knowing his name. He would appear, leave an impression, and then disappear again. Supporting roles, short arcs, characters that hinted at depth but never stayed long enough to fully unfold. And fans kept asking the same quiet question: why does he keep getting sidelined? There's no official story about how hard it was to land the role of Jin Chao. No dramatic headlines about fierce competition or rejection. But in this industry, silence usually means persistence. Casting rewards reliability more than noise. And for actors without instant fame, that means showing up again and again, knowing the role might not be yours. From a fan's perspective, that waiting becomes personal. Every new project came with cautious hope. Maybe this time he'd finally be seen. And when the spotlight moved on, it wasn't disappointment. It was patience, because fans could tell he wasn't rushing, he was staying. That's what made Speed and Love feel different. When Jin Chao finally appeared on screen, longtime viewers didn't react with shock. They reacted with recognition. This wasn't a transformation, it was a reveal. The character lives on the edge. Underground racing, constant tension, choices driven by survival rather than comfort. To prepare, Hiyu didn't just study the script, he challenged himself physically, completing a long-distance cycling journey of nearly 500 kilometers across multiple provinces. It wasn't framed as a publicity stunt, it was simply something he did, and that quiet discipline shows on screen. There's a reason his scenes didn't feel forced. When he stands in a garage fixing a vehicle, or sits silently processing what he can't say, it feels earned, not performed. His physique wasn't presented as spectacle, it was functional. The body of someone who lives the life the character lives. Viewers didn't feel told to find him compelling, they just did. Part of that comes from his background. Born in Yinchuan with Hui ethnicity, his facial structure and calm intensity make him stand out subtly rather than loudly. But again, it's not just how he looks, it's how little he tries to use it. Off-screen, that restraint doesn't disappear. He Yu rarely overshares. One detail that surprised many fans was learning that his strongest musical instrument isn't guitar, but saxophone, something he once practiced seriously enough to win awards. He eventually stopped for practical reasons, not dramatic ones. It's a small story, but it fits. He doesn't romanticize struggle. He doesn't exaggerate himself.
怎么不穿裤子？
我穿了。
肚子还疼吗？
That's why his rise feels different from typical breakouts. Speed and Love didn't make him popular because it was loud. It revealed what had already been there. Years of preparation, quiet roles, waiting instead of rushing. When viewers finished the drama, many didn't rush to praise the story itself. Instead, they went searching for his name, for his past roles, for what he might do next. And that's usually how you know something has shifted. Not because the internet told people to care, but because they decided to on their own. Not an overnight story. He Yu didn't suddenly appear, he stayed. And when the right role finally arrived, it didn't create something new. It simply showed what had been building all along. If you've been watching him longer than most people, you probably felt this moment coming. And if Speed and Love was your first time noticing him, this story might explain why it feels different. Let me know when you first started paying attention.